Credits roll. Long credits with no scene after, I do want to add.
Well, like the opening of the first movie, you can almost forget that this starts in space. It didn't occur to me until the second viewing of this movie that we see the Predator is being chased by a different spaceship.
This didn't occur to you on the first viewing? That's my whole opening is like, wow, a big ship's chasing a small ship and there's a Predator on each ship. And I'm wondering, like, what?
We don't know that.
You see the pilots from the back.
We only see Little P. I call him Little P in Big Pun.
Maybe it's the trailers, because we saw, the script calls him Upgrade, so we saw Upgrade in the trailer, so maybe that's how I knew it was Predator on Predator violence. And we see they can't travel faster than light, but they can somehow tear holes in space. That's how they get from Predator world to Earth.
Well, they don't. Little P does. Big Pun is left behind. That's what I'm saying. It's like a boop, boop, boop. We're in a Star Wars movie, and then he jumps through a space rift and hits a satellite orbiting Earth, and that's why he crashes. Otherwise, he would have landed and been able to do whatever he planned to do to help humanity. I presume he would have gone straight to Washington, D.C. and said, hey, everybody, I got a suit that will help you fight the aliens that are just like me that are coming to kill you.
His ship took a lot of fire. I thought he hit the satellite because he was already out of control and crashed because the bigger ship had hit him, because it is very Star Wars. I mean, it's a giant ship shooting a little ship. It's doing that whole thing. I thought he was just out of control for that. And I should add, this entire thing about the suit of armor and the weapon he's bringing us and all that, added in reshoots. This was not his original mission.
Oh, well, that makes more sense. Because, after this movie was over, that was just plaguing me. I'm like, I don't understand. This doesn't look like a Predator that has come in peace. Like, the way he starts skinning people and all that, it just is not a peaceful Predator.
And yet, in the original thing, he still has come to help us, and yet he just still skins us. And they even address it in the original script. They're like, well, yeah, he's come to help us, but that doesn't make him a nice guy. That's literally what it says.
But in this opening scene, they linger on that little capsule thing that we're supposed to forget about, I guess, till later in the movie. But I had, why they keep lingering on this? It looks like a door or a capsule, whatever. The other thing that really stuck out to me in this opening scene, and I too did not get it was Predator on Predator chase, was they wasted no time showing us the Predator in this one. If you recall, in the original Predator, we didn't even see it very much. They immediately show us a Predator. The mystery behind the character is completely gone. We're seeing him just as a human character almost, but he's as a Predator. I was really unimpressed by how unspecial he was. And I got that immediately from this first scene.
I was confused. I immediately after the first showing went to the internet to try and make sense of what was going on. I found out that Fox had done it again. They are the worst offenders when it comes to writing prequel novels. Remember they did that with the last Independence Day, some of those Planet of the Apes movies. We've had to go and read prequels that happened before the film.
That Independence Day prequel novel is still burned into my memory as one of the worst reading experiences of my life. I mean, I remember where I was. I remember reading it. And when you mentioned by email that there was a prequel novel, which I did not know, I had PTSD. So was it nearly as bad as that fucking shitty Independence Day novel?
I didn't read that because I don't even like Independence Day, the first one. I wasn't going to read that. But I did feel like here's a case where we actually did need some backstory. If this alien has been here and befriended us and made a turn and wants to come and help and give us any kind of weapon against his own people, that is a story worth telling. And so I bought the Predator Hunters and Hunted prequel novel, and that's not what it's about at all. I'll tell you what it's the prequel for, but I was very disappointed to find out that this gaping hole is never closed. There's nothing ever explained as to why this guy has come to help.
Well, it was explained in the original script. They reshot the entire third half hour of the film.
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, this movie feels like it's been shook up in a bag.
I'll tell you what the plot is when we get there. But yeah, I was wondering if the prequel novel was about the stuff that was completely removed from the movie, because there's huge plot points removed from the movie. I couldn't imagine a prequel novel not being about that.
No, I would have thought that that was the backstory that most needed to be explained here. Instead, we're going to be introduced to our hero, Army Sniper Quinn McKenna. Yet another example. They never like to explain why their heroes are in the jungle, do they? They're just there. It's something about a drug cartel and some kidnapped people. It never will matter who he's working for. I don't think they get rescued.
No, in the original script, Traeger and his men kill both the hostages and the drug lords to cover up the Predator, but that never made it to the final film because I was wondering what the hell happened to those people too.
But we never really understood what Schwarzenegger's duplicity about him having come to stop communists in Nicaragua. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. The real question is, what do you guys think of Boyd Holbrook?
I liked him in Logan. I thought he was a good villain in Logan.
I agree. I liked him in Logan, and I couldn't figure out where I seen him before until about halfway through the movie. I'm like, oh, that's the guy from Logan. I liked him mostly, but to your point earlier, Stuart, about this series is lacking a leading man, for the first, I'd say, half of the movie, I thought he was holding the movie together pretty well. But once they get to the group of the guys in the bus, he kind of takes a back seat to he's the leader of the group, but he's the leader of the dream team. You know what I mean? And I don't mean the dream team, the basketball players.
No, I know. I was thinking Michael Keaton, too.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. So he loses his leading man status pretty much, and he tries to regain it at the end. So I liked what he was bringing in the first half of the movie. I just thought he got benched in the second half.
And I don't like him in either half of the movie. I think this movie has some real casting choice problems, and he is the biggest because he's the lead. I think he is a perfectly fine actor to convince me that he is a military sniper. I think he plays that role well. I think he provides a very realistic version of U.S. military, but there's nothing about this guy that I like other than support our troops. He is merely there. He would be great as the secondary or tertiary character where we need to believe this guy's a sniper, but there's no charisma there. There was nothing that made me say, I want to watch this guy win.
I'm going to argue he is the best leading man of the entire series. He is easily better actor than Arnold, more comfortable in his role than Danny Glover. We're not talking about AVP and Agent Brody even. I feel like he is the most compelling character, but the problem is there's something about star power. Like, when you see a star on screen, they just command you to look at him. And this guy, I get confused with other actors. Like, he looks like the guy from Tron Legacy. He looks like Taylor Kitsch, Gambit from the Wolverine movie, Charlie Hunnam from Pacific Rim. There's all these blonde guys that are interchangeable, and none of them have the gravitas of a Heath Ledger. I just feel like they all want to be Heath Ledger, and because they don't have that star wattage, they just can't hold the film. He's really good, but the character's not particularly well written, and ultimately the movie gets bored with him and moves on.
I just don't think even in the beginning he was interesting. The one who I love in this movie, the one who I wish was the star, Sterling K. Brown. That guy, when he walks onto the screen, owns the screen. He's smiling. I'm smiling. I really only know him from Black Panther and The People vs. O.J. Simpson, but he's a face that was very familiar. He's chewing up the scenery and he's chewing gum all at once.
This is a Fox casting call. Anyone that's ever worked on a Fox project gets shuffled in here. He is the star, or one of them, of This Is Us, which is made by Fox.
And he won an Emmy for it. He's an up-and-coming big name, even though he's done very well for himself. When I say up-and-coming, like, he is going to be someone who comes back. I'm sure we're going to see more of him in the future.
Not in more Predator movies, I would guess.
Not in more Predator movies, but I do agree that when he was on the screen, he just emanated confidence and things. But I had trouble liking him as well, not because of his charisma, not because of the attitude. I loved how he can turn on a dime and being smiling and serious, but he just was like putting things together, connecting dots that were just driving me nuts. How the hell did he come to these conclusions based on the evidence that we have seen? He was so super ahead of everybody else, including the audience, that I was just like, shut the fuck up after a while, like, because where are you getting this information? And it was driving me crazy.
Well, I will say the prequel novel is about him and the Reapers, this team of SWATs that he's commanding. This is the stars. There's actually a whole bunch of people that get killed in the book that aren't in this film, but it's the whole Project Stargazer, how they came across the Predator for the first time. So he's onto it a little bit because they have this other encounter in a book, but you're absolutely right. Because this movie knows it hasn't done a good job of setting up why things are happening, you have to have characters every now and then come out and say, oh, it's because they must be doing it because, we're like Twinkies or something. Yeah, he's got to carry a whole lot of exposition on his back in the second half of this movie. But as a setup here, I think it's problematic from the get-go that we have this fake. We're supposed to think that this alien is hunting. He's come to Mexico to do what every predator before him has done, but we'll find out he's actually a peacenik. He he actually wanted to help. And the only reason why he's killing and skinning people is because he can't find the helmet and the wrist cuff that he should have been wearing when he got into the escape pod. I thought he was.
I thought it got knocked off of him.
Yeah.
There's some weird things that happen here. First of all, I want to say this movie's a hard R, and I do like it. There's one of McKenna's men we never see named Haynes. Well, we do see him, but by the time we see him, he's like half skinned and hanging from a tree. And the Predator is up there in the tree and invisible. But then he turns off his cloak, is like, "Hi guys, I'm here," and then cloaks again. What is this game of peekaboo he's playing? And then the Predator is really made less cool in this movie because the Predator doesn't actually hunt. Imagine if you go hunting for deer, and instead of having a gun that you have to aim and pull the trigger, you have a gun that when it hears the sound of a deer breathing, it automatically aims and shoots for you. Because that seems to be how all the Predator's equipment works. Here we get the first instance of that where McKenna finds this metal tube and goes, "Let me see if my arm fits in it." Okay. And it clamps down on his arm and then auto fires a blade.
Killer Frisbee, I called it.
Yeah, it fires a killer frisbee that injures the Predator, but bisects poor Haynes. This is my first instance where I realize, oh, the effects budget of this wasn't what it should be, huh? When Michael Jackson's yellow eyes from the Thriller video look at me through blood that poured on the Predator.
I thought it was awesome. I thought that when he got eviscerated and the goo from his entrails make the Predator's invisibility cloak go away because it covers him over, I thought that was wonderfully, disgustingly gross. Awesome. I dug that entire effect. I loved it.
I liked the blood on the Predator, but it made less sense given that the Predator had already shown himself. And I just thought those Scott Fargus eyes did not work in that scene. It was just a bad effect. I would have loved it if it looked real. It just looked cartoony.
But instantly, we cut away from this, and suddenly we're hanging out with your friend at a cantina, and I feel like, wow, I wanted to see more of this scene. What happened at this site? Where are we even? It really isn't clearly established that we're in Mexico until we get to this bar.
Yeah, for reasons I can't even tell you, it wasn't even supposed to be Mexico. It was supposed to be Cuba. Somehow they changed it to Mexico.
Yeah, I don't know that Mexico has this many forested hills, but whatever.
Well, I mean, there's somewhere the Mayan temples are, but I don't know how close that is to a city where you can find a cantina and have like a scene from Three Amigos where you flash a gun and make everybody leave. And then what really confuses me is what happens to McKenna after this.
Also, in this scene, when he's in the bar, when he puts everything in a box to mail things, he picks up a little ball, which we learn is the invisibility ball, and he swallows it. Now, I figured out why. He's trying to make sure he doesn't get taken from him, right? But wouldn't that make him invisible if he swallows the invisibility ball?
And wouldn't he want to be, since Traeger and his men are pounding at the door?
And I have trouble taking a one-a-day vitamin. Can you imagine trying to swallow a foosball? Even if it isn't tequila. I thought he was just being funny, and he put it in tequila like it's the worm. But going down the esophagus? Jesus.
You're right. Why doesn't he use it to get out of there and then swallow it? I don't know. That doesn't make no sense to me.
Yeah, or send it off with the other stuff that he's mailing to himself. If we're going to get hung up on these things, this show is going to be 9 hours long.
This movie has a lot of logic problems, not the least of which is, yes, this little metal ball and the fact that the Predator's armor just keeps doing shit. Like, here, you might want this ball.
Yeah, it seems like a convenient way of getting McKenna captured so that he's not able to go and pick up his package, and that allows the storyline with his family to progress while he's being detained in some Veteran Affairs office where they're railroading him. They're trying to expose him as being crazy so they can send him away to some mental hospital.
To cover up the fact that he saw an alien.
When he's a good military guy who follows orders and would probably just shut the fuck up about it if told to, and if he was made part of the team, but instead they're just going to ship him away, and there's a reference made to lobotomizing him, and I'm not sure that's not the case.
I thought they were going to send him off on a bus to shoot him at a firing squad. That's the impression I got. The whole busload was going to get knocked off.
In the test screening cut of the movie, movie, these guys were not military. They couldn't command the military. These guys were CIA and Black Ops and all kinds of various private sector stuff. They were basically Blackwater. They weren't the military the way they are here.
Right.
You mean the Sterling Brown guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Reapers is what they're called in the book.
But we do jump to see Rory McKenna in school. Am I the only one who got flashbacks to the Wizard?
I didn't think about the Wizard, but yeah, certainly there's some applicable characteristics. He didn't write that one. I noticed he's going to Lawrence A. Gordon Elementary School. I looked him up, film producer of